Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to learn how to work with if conditions in Java. So just imagine that you would like to implement and execute a block of code if a certain condition is met, and if that condition is not met, you would like to execute another block of code. So you need to check a few things before you know which conditions you would like to go with. Okay, so in this video we are going to discuss how this if condition can help us to do so. First of all, this is the problem statement. We would like to check if a number is positive, negative, or 0. Okay, and firstly we have a variable called num. It's of integer data type, and number -5 is assigned to it. Now I would like to know if this num is a positive number, or it's a negative number, or it's 0. In order to check it using the Java, I want the compiler to decide for me, and obviously if I look at it, I understand that it's a negative number. But I would like to ask the compiler to make the decision for me to check if it's a positive, negative, or a number that is 0, because this is one number that I'm checking now. Later on, maybe I have 2,000 numbers that I want to be checked, so I cannot do it manually. It's very hard. In order to have such a program here, we need to use the if keyword. This is where we discuss the condition. So I write down if, this is the reserved keyword in Java. And then in parentheses, I write down the condition that I want to check. Okay. So here I write down if that variable called num is greater than 0, then print positive number in the output. How do I print? I use this syntax: system.out.println. So if the number is greater than 0, print this message for me. Okay, literally I'm telling the compiler to do so. But what if this condition is not true? So else if is where we are going to have another condition. So because I have the if condition one time here, as of now that I used the if condition, if I want to add a new if condition, I need to write down else if. Okay, so else if, and the condition in parentheses says that num is less than 0. So basically in the first condition I was checking num is greater than 0, and now I'm checking if the number is less than 0. So what do I do if the number is less than 0? If the number is less than 0, simply execute this part of the code, negative number. Okay, so if the number is greater than 0, only this part of the code will be executed. You see, I have the braces here. Okay, so only this part of the code will be executed if the number is greater than 0. So this is why I mentioned that if you have a certain condition in mind and you want to execute a certain part of your code, only if that condition is true. This is why I mentioned that. And if this condition num greater than 0 is not correct, we're going to go and check the next condition. So num is less than 0. If this one is correct, we are going to execute only this part of the code, the blue part. So we are going to show this message, negative number. Okay, and finally we are having the else part. So when we are going to execute the else part, when is it possible to go and execute the else part? The moment that all the above mentioned conditions, neither of them is true, the compiler goes to the else part and prints 0. Because if a number is not greater than 0 and it is not less than 0 as well at the same time, definitely that number is 0. So now that I have the num equals -5, so when I run the code, we see negative number. This message is shown in the output. So this message comes from this part. So num is -5. -5, is it greater than 0? No. Therefore, this part is not executed. We go to this part. Okay. Now, num, is it -5? Is it less than 0? Yes. This part is correct. This condition is correct. So we go and execute this part of the code. Therefore, the compiler prints this message. Negative number is shown in the output. But instead of -5, if I have 5, so now 5, is it larger than 0? Yes, this statement is true. Therefore, this part of the code is executed only. And the remaining parts are not going to be executed. So if I run the code now, we see that positive number message is shown in the output. Okay. Now, if I modify this num equals to 5 and now it's equals 0, the compiler starts from here. 0, is it greater than 0? No. Then comes here. 0, is it less than 0? No. Else part. Because we didn't pass neither of the condition above, we fall in the else part and we show it here. 0 is being printed in the output. So when I run the code, we see the message 0 is being shown in the output. So in this video, we learned how to check if a number is positive, negative, or 0 using if-else conditions in Java. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to have a coding exercise using the if conditions in Java. We would like to check to see if a number is even or odd. What is the definition of even and odd numbers? First, we need to review their definition, and then we are going to execute the code. So a number, let's say even number. A number is even if it is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0. Okay. Otherwise, it is an odd number. So this is a definition of even and odd numbers. If a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, that number is even. Otherwise, that number is an odd number, meaning that if that number is divided by 2 and the remainder is any number but 0, it means that that number is an odd number. Take 10 as an example. Number 10, if it's divided by 2, the remainder of this division is 0, meaning that number 10 is an even number. However, if you divide number 9 by 2, you will see that the remainder of this division does not equal 0, meaning that this number is an odd number. Let me illustrate it with an example. So first of all, we are going to have a variable called num, and number 7 is assigned to this variable called num, which is of integer data type. Now I would like to check to see if this number equals 7 is an even number or an odd number. How can I check it based on this definition that I just gave you? We need to check using the if condition. So if, and in parentheses we write down the conditions, if that number is divided by 2 and the remainder of that division equals 0, modulo operator is going to help me to find the remainder of a division. So if that number is divided by 2, the remainder of that division equals 0, print this message, even number. Okay. And why I have 2 equals here? Because 1 equal in programming is for assignment. Now I'm assigning number 7 to a variable called number. But if I want the equality check, if I want to check if they are equal or not, we need to have 2 equals. Okay, this is just something by default you need to have in mind. So if number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, we are going to print this even number message in the output. But if this condition is not true, it means that that number is not an even number. Therefore, it's an odd number. So the compiler goes and checks the else part and execute this part of the code. In this example, if 7 is divided by 2, the remainder of this division, is it equal to 0? No, it's not equal to 0. Therefore, this condition is not true. This part of the code is not executed, therefore, and the else part is executed instead. So we are having the odd number. So when I run the code, we see that odd number is shown here in the output. But what if I change this number? Now I want number 8 to be investigated. So 8 divided by 2, the remainder of this division, is it equal to 0? Yes, it is equal to 0. Therefore, this part of the code is executed and even number message is shown in the output. Basically, this is how we can check if a number is odd or even in Java. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to learn how to find the largest of two numbers. Just to let you know, I would like to give you an example to illustrate this concept. Now I'm having two variables, a and b. So both of them are of integer data types. And a equals 10 and b equals 20. Okay, so we initialized these two variables, a and b. Now I would like to know and find out which one is the largest number. Obviously, we know it, b is 20, so b is the largest number. However, I would like the compiler to decide this for me. In order to do that, we need to have an if condition there. Here, first of all, I write down the if condition. So if word is written there, and then the condition is inside the parentheses. We say if a is larger than b, print this part of the code. Let's say execute this part of the code, which is going to print a is larger. Else if a is less than b, okay, a is less than b. If this part is true, print b is larger, as you see here. And if neither of these two conditions is true, simply go to the else part and print this part. Both are equal. So now that a is 10 and b is 20, so 10, is it larger? Is it greater than 20? No. Therefore, this part of the code is not executed. Then we go to the else if part. 10 is less than 20? Yes, this is true. Therefore, this part of the code is executed, which is going to print b is larger. So we see that when I run the code, b is larger is shown here in the output. Now, what if I modify the number 10? So now a equals 30. So with this modification, if we check 30, is it larger than 20? Is it greater than 20? Yes, this statement is true. Therefore, only this part of the code is executed, which is going to print a is larger. So when I run the code, we see here a is larger is shown in the output. And these two other conditions are not even checked because the compiler found the condition that was true, because only one of these conditions can be executed at a time. So now if I modify a again and I put number 20, so 20, is it greater than 20? No. Then it goes to the else if part. 20, is it lower than 20? Is it less than 20? No. And then it goes to the else part, which is going to print both are equal. So when I run the code now, we see both are equal message is shown in the output. Basically, this is how we can find the largest of two numbers. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to discuss a grade calculation system using if-else conditions. So imagine that you're a student and you received a score of 82 and you would like to grade yourself. Basically, there are some system, or let's say grade calculation system, based on which you can understand if you are grade A, grade B, grade C based on your score. We would like to have the same thing now in Java. So imagine that your score is 82. So we need to declare a variable, and this variable name is a score. You can name it whatever you want. It's of integer data type, and number 82 is assigned to this variable score. Okay. Now I would like to have the definition of my grading system. I would like to mention that if the score of the student is greater than or equal to 90, I'm going to label it as grade A. If it's greater than or equal to 80, however, it is going to be grade B. Greater than or equal to 70, it is going to be grade C. Greater than or equal to 60, it is going to be grade D. Otherwise, we are going to have the fail message. So if neither of these conditions are true, if none of them is true, therefore we are going to show this fail message. So first of all, when I run this code now, we see that grade B is being printed out in the output. It means that here 82 is considered to be grade B. But let me go through the details so you would see how it works. The way that it works for the compiler is like the following. So we are going to have this checking using the if condition, saying that score, is it greater than or equal to 90? No, because it's 82. 82, is it greater than or equal to 90? No. So this part of the code is not going to be executed, and the compiler goes for the next condition. So it is going to check the next condition. 82, is it larger than, greater than, or equal to 80? Yes, this condition is true. Therefore, this part of the code is being executed, which is basically printing grade B in the output as we see here. But what if I change the grade? So I write down 72 now. So what happens is that it is going to check, is it greater than 90? No. Is it greater than 80? No. 72, is it greater than 70? Yes. Therefore, this part of the code is being executed, and grade C is going to be printed in the output. So when I run the code now, you see that grade C is being shown here in the output. If we again change the score to be 62 now, and I run the code one more time, it is going to be now grade D, because 62 is greater than 60, and grade D is being printed here in the output. But whatever that is below 60, like 58, it is going to show the failed message for us, or let's say to us, in the output. So when I run with the score of 58, we see that neither of these conditions is true. So none of them is true, in fact. 58 is not greater than 90, not greater than 80, not greater than 70, not greater than 60. Therefore, it goes for the else part, and it is going to print the fail message in the output as we see it here. So in this video, we learned how to design a grade calculation system using if-else conditions. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to discuss how to check conditions using switch statement. So first of all, we need to learn what switch statement is and why we need to use switch statements. So the reason why we use switch statement is because if we are having a lot of conditions to be checked, we can do it still with if-else conditions. However, it reduces the readability of our code. So it's better to use a switch statement when we are having a lot of conditions to be checked. Let's illustrate this with an example. We would like to have the day of the week using switch statement. For example, we would like to have a variable called day and value 1 is assigned to it. 1, what does it mean? I mean Monday. So the first day of the week is Monday, and we are going to calculate the day of the week using switch statement. So the variable called day is initialized to be 1. It's of integer data type. Then instead of having the if conditions, I'm having the switch keyword, switch statement. So we write down the switch, and inside parentheses, we write down the variable we would like to iterate over the condition. So this is the condition that we would like to check. This is the variable based on which the condition is going to be checked, let's say. So I'm going to check the value of the variable day. This is why day is inside the parentheses. Now I would like to see, previously we used to say if day equals 1, do this. If day equals 2, do this. If day equals 3, do another thing, for example. Now we write down switch day, and then the case that day equals 1 is this case. Okay, this is going to be happen. So you write down case and then number 1, meaning that if day, the variable inside parentheses for the switch statement, was equal to 1, then do this, put a colon, then print Monday and break. Get out of the switch statement. Break is going to help us to get out of this switch statement block of code, because the switch statement starts from here and it is going to end here. When you understand that day equals 1, you're going to execute this part of the code and then simply break. So you're not going to execute the rest of the codes, because your case was the day 1. Okay. So when I run the code now, if I run the code now, you will see that Monday is being printed in the output. Why? Because day equals 1 and we are having the condition over day, and the case that day equals 1, the Monday is going to be printed in the output. So if I write down number 3, meaning that I'm talking about Wednesday. So when I run the code now, you see that here the Wednesday is going to be printed in the output. But how does it work? So we are going to iterate over the values that are assigned to the day variable. Okay, so we check the day variable. What is the number? It is equal to 3. Because it is equal to 3, we are going to implement the case 3. So note that the switch keyword and the case keyword are the reserved keywords for working with switch statement. And inside parentheses, you write down your variable name that you care about, the value that it is going to take. And here that you see in green 1 to 7 are different values that the day variable can take. Now it equals 3. I'm basically saying that if day equals 3, print Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday is being printed in the output. So basically this is how we can work with the switch statement. And we see that here we are having 7 cases. So from case 1 to case 7, Monday to Sunday, and the default case is whatever that you're going to enter that is not case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up until 7, it is going to say invalid day. So if I write down, for example, number 13 here and I run the code one more time, you're going to see that invalid day message is being shown in the output, meaning that here this is the default, is like the else part in the if else condition. Why? Because we are checking to see if day equals 1, do this. If day equals 2, do this. If day equals 5, do this, etc. If day equals a number that is neither of these cases, it is neither of these cases, then mention invalid day that you see that here is being printed in the output. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to create a simple calculator using the switch statement in Java. So first of all, we are having 2 variables being declared. Both of them are of integer data type. And number 8 is assigned to the variable called num1, and number 2 is assigned to the variable called num2. Then we are having a character being initialized to be this. So this is the addition sign, okay? And this character name is operator. Now we would like to create a simple calculator using the switch statement. In order to do that, we would like to have the switch keyword, and we are going to iterate for the value that is assigned to the operator variable, okay? So in case that operator equals an addition, we are going to print this so num1 plus num2. In case the operator equals subtraction, like this one, we're going to have num1 minus num2. If we are having a star, num1 multiplied by num2. If we are having a division, num1 divided by num2. So depending on what is assigned to the operator variable, we are going to have different cases. And if the operator equals to neither of these symbols, operators, we are going to have the default part where we are having the invalid operator in the output. So in this example, now I have num1 and num2. They are holding the value 8 and 2. Then we are having the addition as the operator. So 8 plus 2 is 10. So because operator equals the addition operator, we are going to switch over the operator variable, and the case will be active. The case that will be activated is this one, because we are having in case operator equals an addition signature sign, or symbol, let's say. So this is our case, and this part is going to be executed. So num1 plus num2 is going to be shown in the output, which is number 10 that you see here. But what if I change this one? So now I have the subtraction sign and I run the code. We see that the output changed. Now it's 6. So what happened? So the compiler checks operator equals this symbol? No. Therefore, this line is not executed. It goes for the next case where we are having this symbol. So there we are having num1 negative num2, and then 8 minus 2, it will be 6 in the output. So this is what happens. Actually, when we change it again, if I have the multiplication or a star symbol, now this case is going to be activated. Why? Because operator equals a star, which is our case. So in this case, we wanted to have num1 multiplied by num2, which is 16 in the output. And finally, if we are having the division here, when I run the code, we see that 8 will be divided by 2, which is 4 in the output. So in this video, we learned how to design a calculator in Java using switch statement. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we would like to have a program that checks the eligibility for voting. So we would like to check if our users can vote or not, and we are going to define certain criteria for that. In order to have such a program, we need to have the age of the users. So for example, here I assume that there is only one user whose age is 17 and it's of integer data type. Okay. Now I would like to define the criteria for being eligible or not for voting. In order to define it, I would like to have only one criteria. So the criteria would be if the user is older than 18. So their age is greater than or equal to 18. If this is the case, they're eligible to vote. Otherwise, they are not eligible to vote. So now we are having the age 17, and we check to see 17, is it greater than or equal to 18? The answer is no. Therefore, this part of the code is not executed. And because this condition is not true, we directly go to the else part, and we are having this in the output. So not eligible to vote. As you see here, it is shown there. But what if I change this? So instead of this 17, now I have number 20, and I run the code one more time. So the compiler checks to see 20, is it greater than or equal to 18? Yes, this statement is true. Therefore, this part of the code is executed, eligible to vote. So this is how we can design a program by which we can check and understand the eligibility for voting. Thank you for watching.